Good evening. I would like to welcome everybody to this evening's council meeting on Tuesday, April 1st. I'd like to welcome members of council, members of staff, media in the gallery, and those joining virtually. We will begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are gathering on the land that has been inhabited by Indigenous people since time immemorial. We would like to recognize that we're in the Robinson Superior Treaty Territory, and the land on which we are gathered today is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe. Specifically, we acknowledge the neighboring community of Mishpahn First Nation, for whom we have great respect. We also recognize the contributions of all Indigenous peoples, including the Métis, in shaping and strengthening the community and province of Ontario. Thank you, and Miigwech. We'll start this evening's meetings with the Committee of Adjustment meeting agenda. I will start off with item number 2, approval of the agenda.
Moved by Councillor Cannon, second by Councillor Hoffman. Resolved that the agenda for the Committee of Adjustment meeting scheduled for Tuesday, April 1st, 2025 be approved as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Item number 3, announcements. There are no announcements listed, so we will move on to item number 4, declaration of pecuniary interest. Hearing and seeing none, we will move on to item number 4, approval of the minutes. 5.1, Committee of Adjustment meeting Tuesday, March 4th, 2025.
Moved by Councillor Cannon, second by Councillor Hoffman. Resolved that the following minutes of the Municipality of Wawa Committee of Adjustment be adopted as presented. Minutes of a Committee of Adjustment meeting held on Tuesday, March the 4th, 2025, as contained on pages 1 to 3, inclusive of the minute book.
All in favor? Carried. There are no items listed under old business, so we will move on to item number 7, new business. 7.1, approve the actions of the Secretary Treasurer.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, seconded by Councillor Hoffman. Resolved that the Municipality of Wawa Committee of Adjustment does hereby approve the actions of the Secretary Treasurer with respect to the notification of the following applicant. An applicant for minor variance A225 on 71 2nd Avenue, Mr. Thomas Pratt, for property plan M131, lot 1132, parcel 838 in the Municipality of Wawa. And the purpose and effect of the minor variance application is to permit the construction of a fence located across the front and side lot line, measuring 4 feet in height, which exceeds the maximum front and side yard restrictions set out in the Municipality of Wawa's fencing bylaw 2471-11 under zoning designation residential. So it would be to increase the front and side fence height from 0.91 meters or 3 feet to 1.2 meters or 4 feet.
All in favor? Carried. Item 7.2, application for minor variance A2-25, 71 2nd, Mr. Pratt. Mr. Sabrin, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So I'll just give you a review of the report that I submitted. The application is for a property located at 71 2nd Avenue. It's zoned residential third density, and the applicant is proposing to increase his fence height on the front and side lot lines from 3 feet to 4 feet. The application has been reviewed considering all applicable provincial and municipal legislative documents. Under the official plan, the property is designated Wawa residential, and residential uses are permitted and site alterations are permitted in the official plan. The general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, the applicant is seeking to increase front and side yard fence. The requested relief is as follows. Requirement is 0.9 meters or 3 feet. Proposed is 1.2 meters or 4 feet in height. Variance requested is an increase of 0.21 meters or 1 feet. The proposed section of fence is for the front and side yard of the property. The permitted uses on site are not proposed to change as a result of the application. The proposed modifications consider the consider the functionality of the lands while increasing the usability of an existing residential parcel. Technical comments, there were no comments or concerns raised. Public comments, there was one received. If any other comments are received after publishing of this report, will be included as an addendum to the Committee of Adjustment agenda. Conclusion, the proposal is desirable for the appropriate development or use of the land. Approval of this application will prevent the construction of a section of fence at the increased height. It is recommended that the minor variance application file number A2/25 for the property located at 71 Second Avenue be approved. Approval of the variance, that the approved variance applies only to the proposed fence height as shown on the approved drawings attached to the notice of decision. The owner or applicant shall provide the building department with a copy of the decision of the Committee of Adjustment together with a copy of the approved drawings when they make an application for a building permit. Council must amend fence bylaw 247111 to permit the construction of the fence on front and side yard at height of 1.2 meters or 4 feet.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Are there any questions or comments from council based on the information received? Item number B, public comments. I note that you said that there was public comments received in your report. There are no members of the gallery today to raise any other public comments. Maury, are you aware of any other public comments?
And to clarify, the public health sent a letter that they had no comments and no objections, but that's the only correspondence we received. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So with that said, we will move on to item 7.3, approve application A2-25.
Moved by Councillor Hoffman, seconded by Councillor Cannon. Resolved that minor variance application A225, submitted by Mr. Robert Pratt for minor variance defense bylaw 2471-11 as amended, respecting 71 Second Avenue, described as Plan M131, Lot 1132, Parcel 838 in the municipality of Wawa be approved, subject to the following conditions: that the approved variance applies only to the proposed fence height, as shown on the approved drawings attached to the notice of decision. The owner applicant shall provide the building department with a copy of this decision of the committee together with a copy of the approved drawings when they make an application for a building permit. And finally, council must amend fence bylaw 2471-11 to permit the construction of the fence on the front and side yard at a height of 1.2 meters.
All in favor? Carried. Item number 8, adjournment. 8.1, adjournment.
Resolved by Councillor Hoffman, moved by Councillor Hoffman, seconded by Councillor Hatfield. Resolved that the meeting close at 6:39 p.m.
All in favor? Carried. We will now take a moment to move on to the committee of the whole meeting agenda. Item number 1, call to order and note the members present at 6:38 p.m. Item number 2, disclosure of pecuniary interest. Seeing and hearing none, we will move on to item number 3, approval of the agenda. 3.1, approval of the agenda. May I please have somebody make a motion to approve? Councillor Hoffman? Councillor Cannon? All in favor? Carried. There are no delegations or presentations, so we will move on to item number 5, adoption of minutes. 5.1, committee of the whole meeting, Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. May I have somebody make a motion to approve the minutes as presented? Councillor Hoffman? Councillor Hatfield? All in favor? Carried. There are no business arising out of the previous minutes, nor are there monthly reports. We will move on to item number 8, new business. 8.1, CAO memo, marina divestiture finalized. Maury, please go ahead.
It is with great pleasure that we share tonight that after many years of discussing the marina divestiture between the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, the municipality Wawa, and then in the last few years, the inclusion of Michipicoten First Nation in the discussions, that the divestiture of the marina lands has been officially completed. And it was completed as of March 28th. As council's been made aware in past presentations, what's referred to as the marina water lot, that property that the current docks and break walls infrastructure that protects the docks has been transferred in ownership from the DFO to the Michipicoten First Nation Cultural Association. Effective immediately upon that transfer, lease agreement between the municipality and Michipicoten First Nation Cultural Association for the municipality to continue to provide a marina for the public is in effect for at least the next 5 years, with options to renew after the 5 years. So it is a momentous occasion, Mayor and Council, that this property was provided to Michipicoten First Nation, and that we worked collaboratively for many years to come to an agreement where all parties are pleased and satisfied with the outcome. And in addition to the municipality assuming ownership of the infrastructure, so in this transfer, the land was transferred, but the infrastructure, the land was transferred to Michipicoten First Nation, but the infrastructure was transferred to us. Again, that includes the break walls, the docks are ours, and then the small dock referred to as government dock, just off Superior Avenue down in the Mission Bay. Those are now the property of the municipality. And as agreed to and committed to by the DFO has provided the municipality with $500,000 to make sure that that infrastructure is up to par today and in the future, and a token of appreciation to council. With that money, there is no legal requirement. They're unrestricted funds. There is no legal requirement of the DFO or any other legislation that dictates what that money needs to be used for. But it's staff's recommendation after listening, for several years to council and the community on what we should do to best serve the long-term financial needs of the municipality, particularly at the marina. Staff's recommending tonight the following: that the $500,000 grant be used, and $100,000 of that grant be returned back to the General Capital Reserve, because last year council approved to remove funds to pay for the new washroom. So it was always the intent that council used the money received from the DFO to pay for infrastructure improvements that included the washroom. The actual cost was $101,473, but I do recommend just rounding and putting the funds back into the General Capital Reserve. Number two, that we reimburse approximately $50,000 back to the miscellaneous administrative revenue account. Over the last 3+ years, the municipalities incurred legal expenses. We also undertook a land survey to set out a registered on title public road allowance to the lot, so there'd be public access guaranteed for not just Michipicoten, for anyone who wanted to access the docks. And those costs, again, are around $50,000. We're still waiting for one bill, but in the interest of moving this forward quickly, as Manuela has the check to cash, if council could agree, we would reimburse that $50,000 back to the operating budget. And the remainder of the money, being $350,000, that it be forwarded to the conditional reserve account set aside specifically for the marina now and in the future, and that council commit that any interest that's received on those funds annually from the $350,000 being invested, that interest go towards the annual marina operating budget to help cover costs. Again, this was something talked about the past council and this council, that it's a way to provide some revenues to the marina accounts that are still operating in a deficit position to get to a cost recovery point. But in addition to that, the lease with Michpacotton First Nation does have a cost to it, and that our agreement says that we will annually provide Michpacotton First Nation Cultural Association with 3% of all gross revenues. So this also providing the interest from the investment would help to pay those costs. That 3% of gross marina revenues does not include should the municipality receive any grants or unusual donations or revenues, but what we would expect to receive as revenues from the dock rentals. So that interest would help pay for those funds. I think in conclusion, all parties again should be hopefully planning a commemorative event or celebrating this momentous achievement, and look forward to the mayor working with Michpacotton to maybe set aside something we can do in the future to celebrate the conclusion of the divestiture. And so the staff recommendation is that council pass a resolution to approve staff's recommendations at its April 15th meeting in support of the recommendations set out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maury, for the information. Is there any comments, questions from council? Councillor Cannon?
I just want to say, Maury, well done. You and your staff, congratulations. And I agree with your recommendations about where the money should be allotted. I think first and foremost, the township should be reimbursed. And then that money set aside for any future projects or anything. And I look forward to a celebration with the First Nation to celebrate. And it is a momentous occasion.
Thank you. Councillor Hatfield?
Maury, I sit on, can you hear me? Okay. I sit on the Marina Committee, and I know there's a meeting in another week or so. I was wondering if you could put some of that stuff you just said like on a page so I could explain it to them, because they'll want that, and I can't remember everything you said. Thank you.
Councillor Hoffman? Maury, I just, I'll round off everybody's comments. This was excellent work, and I was really proud to be able to be a part of this work, and I'll certainly look forward to working closely with Michpacotton First Nation to organizing a celebration that that council can attend to. I really, since the beginning, I really saw this project as the first of many that we could work very collaboratively with Michpacotton First Nation, and it's just you know, it highlights that you know, the first of many steps in reconciliation. I think it's an extremely important project, and without finalizing this project and being successful, it would not be possible for the municipality of Wawa to have a marina, and that marina is such an important part of the municipality of Wawa and our, not only our tourism infrastructure, but our infrastructure of Wawa that our residents have come to depend on and really utilize. So congratulations. I think that this was, I know, a lot of work for both Michpacotton First Nation and the municipality of Wawa, but it just highlights that when we put our minds together, we can come together and do something that benefits both of our communities. So congratulations. And with that said, we will move on to item 8.2, the annual review of harassment and violence policies.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Under legislation, it's very important and legally required that the municipality review its workplace violence and domestic violence policy approved by Council back in 2019, and its workplace harassment and discrimination prevention policy, again passed in 2019. These policies were put together in conjunction with legal counsel, and annually, every year, we hold a staff training event in usually the month of May and review these policies amongst many other that are required to be done. But I had not brought this to council for review last year, so I'm catching up. Council has reviewed these in the past and then passed a resolution in the future, just to note on record whether it acknowledges a review or wants any changes. So we present them tonight with sharing with council that staff have reviewed the policies, aren't recommending any changes, but we put it forth for council to review. As always, staff is available to provide council with a training session if you'd like. I gave a bit of training on these policies during the orientation of council back when you were first elected, but we can schedule a training session with council at any time. So we'll leave this with you, Mayor, to share with council, to collect maybe through you any comments if there's any changes, and bring forward to April 15th if we don't hear anything, just to acknowledge in a resolution that council has received and reviewed the policies. Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments for Maury on this agenda item? Hearing none, we will move on to item number 3, Wawa Drinking Water Operational Plan. Maury, is this yours or Dan? Dan will speak to this. Dan, the floor is yours.
Mayor and Council, this operational plan is what the Wawa follows through the ministry guidelines, government guidelines, and everything else. This is everything that we do to keep our water safe and running. So it's a long process that, there's lots of pages. It just gives an overview of everything that we do, our DWQMS and everything else.
Are there any questions for Dan? Councillor Cannon?
Dan, it says in there about the quality management system. Is it possible to sit down with council and maybe give us a refresher on our responsibilities? And because it says that any changes or improvements come through council. So I'd like maybe a refresher course, because reading that whole drinking water, I mean, whereas it looks like Japanese, most of it. But I mean, even when we went to the treatment plant and got a tour and everything, you learn a little bit more. But I'd like to know a little bit more even above that, if it's possible.
Yes, so we can come up with something that explains a little bit more.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Hatfield?
I tried to read all of it, but really I didn't understand a lot of it, but glad you do. Can you tell me, do you remember Mr. Chesson was a councillor and he had a real worry about THMs? Does that make any sense to you or anything about the water? Or maybe Maury could understand it, or you?
THMs are the organics that are in the lake, that they are under control, and they have been because we add alum to our water.
Oh, okay, then. So we don't have to worry about it.
Not at this moment.
Okay, thanks.
No questions from Councillor Hoffman. Dan, I understand that as Mayor and Council, we're the owner of this document and we're legislatively responsible to sign off on this document annually, and that's what you're asking from us today, correct? Yes. Is there any opposition to that? No. So the recommendation is that that's your recommendation today, and is that going to be, are we going to see a bylaw on that in the next regular April 15th? Okay, thank you very much. So it looks like we are certainly aligned to do that. Thank you very much for tracking changes in the document from last year to this year. That was extremely helpful for me. And I think if there's no other questions or opposition to that summary, we look forward to passing that.
Thank you.
Thank you. And certainly, in order to accommodate Councillor Ken, maybe a brief summary or a training session from Crescent would be appreciated in the future.
I'll try and set something up for that.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. Item 8.5, request, for a special meeting for Councillor Cannon.
Sorry, Mayor, 8.4.
Oh, sorry, getting ahead of myself here. Thank you very much. Memorandum of Understanding, USW Local 9246. I think, Dan, this is yours as well, as it does it does relate to the previous agreement.
Memorandum just lets if anything happens, if the union goes under contract or a dispute or whatever, that our water staff are at work every day. They don't follow anything else. It's to keep our water safe. That's what this understanding is about.
Okay, so to ensure continuity of services.
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Are there any questions or comments with regards to this MOU? So that's perfect. So thank you very much. And I assume we'll see that again on April 15th. Wonderful. Thank you for renewing that agreement. Very important. And now, if there's no other comments or questions, we'll move on to item number 8.5, request for special meeting. Councillor Cannon.
After consulting with staff and because I was absent at the last meeting, there was some confusion about the discussion requesting a special meeting. So we added to the agenda to get some clarity from council on their request. Thank you.
Perfect. So, Councillor Cannon, I understand that there was a request to hold a special council meeting with regards to service levels. So certainly we can absolutely schedule a special council meeting, but if you're able to outline or clarify for staff and certainly council what the goals and objectives are, so we do understand, and then we can canvass the other members of council to see if they are aligned and if they want to move ahead with that.
Yep.
You all right with that? Awesome.
I just wanted to have a meeting. It's in our asset management plan this year to discuss the levels of service, whether we decrease, increase, cut something out. So I would just like to have a meeting to discuss how we're going to do, like if it's possible to decrease, if it's possible to increase, if we want to change things, just to clarify the levels of service that we have at the moment.
Mayor and Councillor Cannon, absolutely, we can schedule a meeting at this time. I'll review the options with the treasurer and our asset manager. Just to put it in perspective, we are in a process right now to identify the levels of service for all our infrastructure. It's due on July 1st, an amendment to our asset management plan. So we're in that process. So I think Manuela would like to say something, and I'll turn it to her.
Sorry, I just feel like we might be talking about two different levels of service. So the asset management requirement is the level of service for each class of asset, not each individual asset. And it will be different types of levels of service. So some driven by the community, some driven by council, some driven by technical needs. So you might, just to put an outlandish idea out there, you might want the roads plowed if there's a centimeter of snow on it. Well, if you use the equipment that much, you'd have to maintain it a lot more. So your technical levels of service would go up. The community expectations would change. So it's all these types of things that are in the asset management plan. And I think, sorry, respectfully, Councillor Cannon, you might be looking for something different, or maybe that's a good point to start at and then expand from there.
No, that's a good point to start on. And I mean, we'd always talked about the levels of service. Example, the garbage. Like all those different things, whether you want to change things, whether you want to, look into something else. But I just thought because you guys were going to talk about the asset management and the levels of service, now would be a good time after that to have a meeting with council to discuss the levels of service that,
I will put together an agenda and send it to council with the idea of possibly a special meeting in May.
perfect. I don't know if anybody else on council has anything else that they want to.
I don't think, like, I'm not interested in, like, the operations, like we've always been told we shouldn't ask about the operations. All I would like to know is, how do you do this, or like, how do you do that? Is it necessary to do this? And I just love it to be explained how everything works, if that's possible. And then maybe some phone calls when they call. I won't sound so silly because I really don't understand. And I always tell them to call, the township, or call you, or call everybody. But a lot of people don't like doing that. But it's just little questions they ask. And it's nothing to hurt anybody, to do anything. It's just to understand the levels of service and who does what, and that goes in there, and stuff like that. Like, I didn't know the airport was under Dan, and I thought the airport was all on its own. Little things like that. I know it takes a long time to catch on to all that stuff, but I'd be interested to know.
Okay, so at this point, I'm still a little bit foggy on why, because I think that this topic may be able to be done on a smaller meeting of council, like when we have shorter agenda, rather than to have a special council meeting. So I think that we're still able to flesh out exactly, and I'm getting nodding heads, so I think that unless we want to have a full-blown planning session with council, I think we're still able to have this conversation during a regular meeting of council.
I would suggest, I would like to meet with everybody, Melanie, and I don't know how Mrs. Cannon feels, but I know we talked, once in a while, like, what do you think? Well, maybe we should get together and understand everything. Because I don't understand some of the stuff that's going on.
Okay. Well, and Councillor Hoffman, what are your thoughts? Would you like to have a...
Well, I'm trying to figure out, you guys talk about general maintenance of our buildings by our staff, the equipment,
Everything, both.
and everything. Okay. I'd be in favor.
Okay. So it sounds like the desire by council is to have a special meeting to discuss service level standards. So we'll move ahead with that, and Manuela, if you want to put an agenda item together and maybe work closely with council to finalize that, and we'll see where we can get.
I believe April 15th agenda is already quite full, so I will focus on May.
Perfect. Okay. There are no items under 9, 10, or 11. So we will move on to item number 12, next meeting date, 12.1, Tuesday, April 15th. Item number 13, adjournment, 13.1, close of meeting, 7:03 p.m. May I please have somebody make a motion to move? Councillor Hoffman? Councillor Cannon seconding? All in favor? Carried. So we will take a moment just to move on to our regular council agenda. Item number 1, call this meeting to order and note the members present at 7:04 p.m. Item number 2, disclosure of pecuniary interest. Hearing and seeing none. Item number 3, approval of agenda.
By Councillor Hoffman, seconded by Councillor Cannon, resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council scheduled for Tuesday, April 1st, 2025 be approved as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Item number 4, delegations and presentations. There are none. Item number 5, announcements and giving of notice. There are multiple announcements listed on the agenda. Are there any other announcements that council would like to make? I did want to add that I attended the inauguration ceremony of Chief and Council at Mishpawnet First Nation today. It was an absolute honor and privilege to be able to attend, and we really look forward to having to improving our relationship with Mishpawnet First Nation, but having a continued collaborative relationship and strengthening the relationship between the municipality of Wawa and Mishpawnet First Nation. Item number 6, adoption of minutes. 6.1, adoption of minutes.
Moved by Councillor Hoffman, seconded by Councillor Cannon, resolved that the following minutes of the meetings of council be adopted as presented. Minutes of a regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, March 18th, 2025, as contained on pages 1 to 4, inclusive of the minute book, and minutes of a public meeting of council held on Tuesday, March 18th, 2025, as contained on pages 1 to 2, inclusive of the minute book.
All in favor? Carried. Item number 7, correspondence. There's multiple items of correspondence listed on the agenda. Maury, did you want to point out any particular piece of correspondence?
Mayor, at this time, just one note, item 7.3, there will be a bylaw at tonight's meeting, hopefully entering into what's called an intermunicipal agreement. Really, it has to do with the Provincial Offences Act, meaning when there are provincial offences such as parking tickets laid in the municipality of Wawa, noise, dogs at large, whatever would fall under provincial offences. The collection of the tickets and processing, if the ticket remains unpaid and it goes to court, is all collected through an agreement with Sault Ste. Marie. So the Sault Ste. Marie Provincial Offences Office acts on behalf of many municipalities in this area and takes that responsibility on. So that agreement has been in place, I think, since about 2015. So it's not an unusual agreement, but it's time for renewal, and so that's on the agenda tonight. In terms of some of the other correspondence, Mayor, maybe at a future meeting with your support and input from council, should council want to pass a resolution indicating any type of proposed action it would want to take as a municipality, or recommend that the province or the federal government take, as we await tomorrow's final indication from the United States on the tariffs and understand its impacts. Council may want to consider, as many of these municipalities and these correspondents are demonstrating, a statement about whether it be an objection to the tariffs or a buy Canadian campaign. Some municipalities are proposing that the laws be altered, so council could, in any kind of tender or infrastructure project award, favor Canadian companies first. So there's a number of things that are being discussed, Mayor, that I know you're aware of, and have asked our Economic Development Officer to compile a report on. So at a future council meeting, we have no resolution tonight, but council may want to put forward a resolution to indicate its recommendations regarding tariffs and potential action. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Item number 8, consent agenda. 8.1, approval of the consent agenda.
Moved by Councillor Hoffman, seconded by Councillor Cannon, resolved that the item listed under consent agenda 8.2 be approved as presented, as recommended.
All in favor? 8.2, receive committee board minutes.
That was the consent.
Thank you. 9, staff reports / memos. 9.1, receive staff reports memos.
Moved by Councillor Cannon, seconded by Councillor Hoffman. Resolved that Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Wawa does hereby receive the following staff report, memo, CAO memo, marina divestiture finalized.
All in favor? Carried. There is no business arising out of previous meeting. Item 11, new business. 11.1, approve memorandum of understanding, USW Local 9246.
Moved by Councillor Cannon, seconded by Councillor Hoffman. Whereas the USW Local 9246 and the Municipality of Wawa has agreed to renew the Memorandum of Understanding as contained within the Wawa Drinking Water Operational Plan to ensure an agreeable and necessary protocol setting out how the essential operations of the municipal water and sewer systems will continue in compliance with current government regulations, applicable legislation, and the Wawa Municipal Drinking Water License in the event of a labor disruption, and whereas such a protocol shall ensure that required licensed water operators will be available to work in accordance with the protocol to ensure continuity of essential services, now therefore be it resolved, Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Wawa approve the Memorandum of Understanding with USW Local 9246, and that it be considered as Appendix 17 to the existing collective agreement dated July 23rd, 2024, which shall expire on July 28th, 2028, and be subject to new renegotiation during the next collective agreement. And further, that Council authorize the Mayor and CAO to execute the Memorandum of Understanding.
All in favor? Carried. There is no notice of motion, so we will move on to item number 13, bylaws 13.1.
Moved by Councillor Hoffman, seconded by Councillor Hatfield. Resolved that the following bylaws be introduced and read a first, second, and third time and finally passed, and that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same annual of this council to the contrary notwithstanding, bylaw number 3780-25, to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on the first day of April 2025, and bylaw number 378625, to enter into an agreement with the City of Sault Ste. Marie for an inter-municipal service agreement for the transfer of service delivery for all court administration and court support functions under the Provincial Offences Act and prosecutions of matter under Parts 1 and 2 of the Provincial Offences Act.
All in favor? Carried. Item number 14, closed session. 14.1, moving into closed session.
Moved by Councillor Cannon, seconded by Councillor Hoffman. Resolved that this committee proceed in camera at 7:13 p.m. in order to address the following matters pertaining to 14.2, a legal issue. It's a land matter regarding a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality. And 14.3, a legal issue. It's a representation notice. It's a litigation or potential litigation, including matters before an administrative tribunal affecting the municipality.
All in favor? Carried.
Thank you, Dan.
Item number 15, return to open session. 15.1, return to open.
Moved by Councillor Hoffman, seconded by Councillor Cannon. Resolved that council resume to the open meeting session at 7:51 p.m.
All in favor? Carried. Business arising from closed session, there is none. Item number 17, next meeting date 17.1, Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. Item number 18, adjournment. 18.1, close of meeting.
Moved by Councillor Hoffman, seconded by Councillor Hatfield. Resolved that the meeting close at 7:51 p.m.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much for your work tonight this evening. Have a great night.